Hey everyone, welcome back to Battle of the Beer, the show where we take two beers and put them head to head. We're back after a little bit of a hiatus, but let's just get right into it. Jason, what did you bring for me today?
All right, sir. Today, well, we should say our theme. Today, we are tasting. Since it is October, we thought it'd be good to go with, some. We originally thought maybe like Harvest, but oddly enough, we both went with pumpkin ales. So I have selected from Belgium Brewing out of Fort Collins, Colorado. This is their Pumpkick. I've never had it before, so I don't know what to expect. But, we always pick great beer on the show. We've never picked bad beer, so I have no reason to believe that this will not.
I don't know about
will
that.
not be good. So let's crack it open here. I will use a glass from your side of the table, sir.
I was wondering how you were going to do that.
Now, I did notice there is a little bit of sediment in the bottom of this one, so we'll just make sure not to get too much of that.
I wonder if that's natural, like if that always is the case. I wonder if it's from like the pumpkin. Does that happen a lot with any pumpkin ale where they use like the pumpkin pie or the pumpkin?
I suppose, but it could just be too if it's if it's a filtered or a non-filtered style.
True.
So
that's a good point.
A lot more of your craft beers, I think you get a little more of that, but it is what it is. To each its own.
I actually do get a little hint of pumpkin off from that. Not strong, but it's there behind the beer a little bit for me. Just barely. It's not like pumpkin pie or anything, but I definitely get a little bit of it.
The popular pumpkin styles seem to use like nutmeg, cinnamon. Yeah. In my head, I just want to say coriander, but that's just because that's a similar use.
Fun to say.
That's like more for like a peppery style or citrus. So I do get that hint of pumpkin as well, right off the nose.
That's actually quite nice. It's got a mildly carbonated mouthfeel, I'd say. It's not too heavy. It sits kind of in the middle. It's not super light, but it's not thick and syrupy. The appearance when you poured it, it's not like it had a huge head on it or anything, but from something like this, I don't need a huge head on it.
Yeah, I didn't quite catch sort of 6% alcohol by volume.
Oh, okay.
So not that head has anything to do with that necessarily, but
yeah, that's not super high or anything, but it doesn't have a boozy taste to it or anything. No, it's I actually kind of like it.
Yeah, and it has what you'd expect from a pumpkin ale. You're a goldish amber color.
I do see you got a little bit of
there is some sediment going in there, but
it's not nearly that bad.
When you've homebrewed as long as I have,
that doesn't bother you.
No.
Oh, it's not too bad in there.
Yeah, I agree with you on the mouthfeel. And the pumpkin isn't it's like a subtle pumpkin flavor. I get a little more of the spicing, I think, especially on the back end of it. Yeah,
I would say that this is less pumpkin and more like harvest spice.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's a trend, but I detect that a lot more with the pumpkin styles I've had. It's less emphasis on the pumpkin taste, but more of the things that you kind of associate kind of around with that, with your cinnamons and your nutmeg. You get more of the spicing notes, and the pumpkin's really just a very subtle flavoring.
Yeah.
Now, unless you go I'd say Dogfish Head, their is it just pumpkin ale? That's that tastes like liquid pumpkin pie to me. So.
Oh, really?
It depends on what you're
going
for.
So that's super sweet then, you would say?
Well, yeah, more sweet, not so much on the spice side.
Yeah, this is kind of a dry spice. It's not it's not overly dry or anything, but it's just not sickly sweet either.
Yeah.
It's not like drinking pumpkin pie. It's got hints of the ingredients of pumpkin pie in it, I would say.
Yeah. But no, I enjoy it. It's I've only had from New Belgium. I've only had Fat Tire is one of the more popular ones, and I've had I believe it's Snowdrift. It's a porter they do. Okay. So I've only had a few. Oh, and the Ranger IPA, but I like this. I would buy this. I'd buy this again. I think.
Cool. Well, I'm gonna start writing down my scores for this one, and then I'll.
Yeah, we'll score this one real quick, and then we'll get on with the next beer.
Cool.
All right, so we have scored the Pumpkick, and now Lucas, please enlighten me. What have you brought for us to enjoy today?
Yeah, well, I brought Griffin Claw's Screamin' Pumpkin Ale. And that is, actually, I think this is the first can that we've ever had on the show.
Yeah, because I think, well, I can't remember if we ever did cans on the podcast. I don't think so. I think we've always done a bottle, maybe one, but yeah, at least for the video, this is the first can we've ever done, so, hey, why not?
Yeah, makes it easier for me, because now I just watch on I can't get it open. Why did I clip my nails this morning? So yeah, this is from the Griffin Claw Brewing Company in Birmingham, Michigan. And I think we featured, at least I know on the radio or on the podcast, a Griffin Claw beer one time. Yeah. But they might be quickly becoming my favorite brewery, and I wanted to try their seasonal beer. So I figure what better time than now.
You just like the name because it reminds you of Harry Potter, doesn't it?
I do. Griffin Claw is the name of my house. I'm dripping. Oh, no. Wow. As I know you like your beer in dish format.
Got a bit of a head on it.
Yeah.
Never trust a beer without a head, they say. Well, it's definitely got some carbonation. I mean, that thing is active. Now, I wonder if that is the difference you get between a can and a bottle. Because I'm not personally familiar, but can you get more carbonation from a can versus a bottle?
I don't know. I mean, I know with like soda, I definitely prefer a glass bottle, which is not very common anymore. Mm-hmm. It's kind of coming back, but I know it affects the taste. I don't know about the carbonation though.
So,
that's a good question.
Initial aroma, I feel like I want to say it's nutmeg, but I might be because I like saying.
No, I think you're right.
But I definitely get a little spice notes right off of that initial smell. The mouthfeel is comparable to the Pumpkick. A little more active carbonation-wise, like we noticed with the visual. But I'd say in texture, drinkability, it still feels very similar. What was the ABV on this one?
A 5. So not very
close.
Yeah.
I guess I can detect a little pumpkin taste in that, but for me, I guess it's not quite what when I think of pumpkin. This taste doesn't match up with that.
I think this is even less than the other. Yeah. As far as pumpkin goes.
I do enjoy the taste, and side by side, they're very similar in color as well. The Screamin' Pumpkin is a little bit
orange, thicker. Oh yeah, look at all the floaties in there.
But I don't know. Otherwise, I mean, they're very similar. I like the lacing, the texture. I mean,
well, I will tell you that according to the can itself, on the front it says ale brewed with pumpkin and spices, and those spices are ginger, allspice, nutmeg, and cloves. And I think one of the things that's throwing me off is probably the cloves. I feel like if I taste anything in here that I don't like, I think it's the cloves. It's got a very...
I'm trying to tell if I can pull that ginger from anything in there, and I feel like I can.
Maybe it is the ginger. There's something in there that I'm not really a huge fan of. To me, it's not sweet at all. It's more... I don't want to say spicy, but it's more like... Gosh, I don't even know how... It's more like peppery or more...
Like those spice notes are more featured in this beer, while this one has more of a...
This reminds you of pumpkin pie. This reminds me of like...
Pumpkin spice latte?
No, that would be even sweeter. No, I don't know. It's just not very sweet. And it doesn't have to be sweet, but
no.
I guess that's what I was expecting, so...
I think it fits the bill though for a fall pumpkin seasonal type beer. I mean,
if
you wanted to have something that's like, oh, I want to taste autumn. I want like a holiday, a fall holiday ale or something like that. I think this would fit that bill.
Yeah, it didn't miss the mark. It's more of my personal preference, maybe.
All right. Well, we've tasted it. Let's score it, and we'll be back with our overall results.
Okay, so we're back after we scored both beers, and let's talk about what we thought about them and give them their appropriate scores, shall we?
All right. All right.
Jason, why don't we start with the my Screamin' Pumpkin Ale? What'd you think of it?
These were really, like we talked about while we were scoring, these are very, like, I think our closest to taste profile, style-wise, and like very similar to any of the beers we've ever done here. So my scores, like we had guessed, my scores at least really do reflect that. So really there was like only 1 point of difference, at least for my personal scores, throughout our categories for these. So aroma, I enjoyed that, it pulled that nutmeg, that spice taste right off. I could detect that right on the nose, compared to more of the pumpkin that I got from the Pumpkin. Mouthfeel, it wasn't. I guess I liked a little less carbonation when I'm comparing these two. So I guess let me actually give you my score. Aroma I gave a 7. Mouthfeel I gave a 6. Taste I gave a 6, just because not to say that the 6 is bad. I mean, I feel like a beer's got to really wow me. If now before when we started this, I think I was a little liberal with my scores. Now I'm trying to taper that a little more, be more realistic, and so beer's gonna have to really wow me to get like an 8 or 9. So
sure.
I think it's not that this is bad. I think it's above. I would say it's above average. I like the taste. I mean, it's like we said, it's a pumpkin. It's fall. It captures that feeling. So an overall satisfaction, I gave it a 6.
Okay.
So kind of what I expected. Overall, I gave it a 6.5. I mean, it's right. It's right there. I mean, if I was doing this out of a 5, like let's say I'm doing this for Untapped, I'd probably give it like a 3.
That's really funny because for me the appearance was an 8. I thought it looked, it had a little bit more of a head. The aroma was a little more difficult to distinguish from that head. I feel like it didn't really open up as well. Mm-hmm. But what I was smelling was nice. Mouthfeel, I agree with you there. I would have preferred a little less carbonation.
Yeah.
It's not overly carbonated, but it's just a touch too much.
Yeah, I mean, even looking at the two now, and this one still has a little. It's
still bubbling.
It's still a lot more active than this one.
I bet if you let this just sit open for a little while, it would be okay.
That's a good idea.
Taste. This is where I was actually let down quite a bit. I thought it smelled okay, but when I tasted it, again, the clove or whatever, or maybe the ginger, not really a fan. It kind of clashed for me a little bit from what I was expecting. Mm-hmm. So again, not terrible, but for me, I didn't really appreciate that flavor profile as much. So that was a 6. And then my overall satisfaction from the beer was a 6, just because I just felt like it didn't quite live up to what I expected from a pumpkin ale. What I wanted personally. So overall, it's a 6.5. So I am in agreement with you when it comes to that.
Okay.
So like you said, not terrible. I would still recommend it if you were looking for something to, like maybe you've had a lot of pumpkin ales or seasonal ales, but just for me, lower end of the scale. Probably won't go to it again for a harvest ale, an October ale.
Yeah, I think that's right along.
So that leaves us with the Pumpkick.
The Pumpkick. Okay, so I don't know why I'm smelling it, because I'm not going to pull the same aromas, but I mean, appearance, aroma, the color, it's what I expected from a beer of this style. I wanted what we got from the Screamin' Pumpkin. I wanted more of that spice, sense out of that. So I was a little disappointed in the pumpkin notes. So I gave it a 6.
Okay.
Mouthfeel, it had that same carbonated. Excuse me, it had the carbonation level that I was expecting. It's just it didn't
Spot
feel.
on.
It wasn't thick. It wasn't too thin. It felt drinkable in my mouth. It's what you would want from a beer of this type. Taste wise, had just that little more than what we didn't get from the Screamin' Pumpkin. It had that spice. I liked how the pumpkin was there, and then the spice was on like the back end of more of the taste, and it just really it really went together well. They really supported one another in the flavor profile, and that's which I enjoyed. So I gave that a 7. And overall, I gave it a 7 as well. So it came up to a 7 for me. So a little bit, just a bit higher than the Screamin' Pumpkin. which I was surprised because I kind of thought going into this I would enjoy the Screamin' Pumpkin more, so I was a little surprised that the Pumpkin was what I came on top for me.
Yeah, for me, the appearance, while not super important, wasn't quite as good looking in the glass, if you want to say. Its lacing sticks around, which is kind of nice because otherwise you kind of get that sense it's a flat beer. But mouthfeel, like you said, it was pretty much spot on for what I was expecting. So I gave that an 8. The taste, for me, this it's not too sweet, which I appreciate. It's not so spicy. It's pretty much spot on for me. While it might not have had all the flavor profiles that I was looking for, it definitely wasn't assaulting my senses or anything like that. Okay. So I really appreciated the taste. Gave it an 8. My overall satisfaction with it is a 7.
Okay.
So that leaves me with a 7.5. So it sounds like we're pretty close in agreement here.
Yeah, so very close. So our winner is going to be the Pumpkick. I think this is... Well, we've had closer ones, but I feel like unanimously our scores across the board were spot on with each other. So that hasn't happened. So I guess this is one of the style that at least we're both similarly enjoy, I guess, or they're looking for the same things from. So very interesting. All right.
Yeah, I'd say go out and get either of these if you can and try them before October leaves us and see for yourself what you think of the beers. Yeah. I was like, I guess that's where we'll cut. So.